Hey, there we go. Get the video going. So today is Monday, January 29th. Sorry, I started the video kind of funny today, but geez, what a move today in terms of markets, both during the regular session and a couple earnings reports. I mean, really impressive moves. So there's a couple things. So I'll go over today's trade action today. There's a lot to go over, so that's why I'm trying to not stumble here and get ahead of myself. But even before this announcement, which came out this afternoon, this was the announcement that kind of sent bonds higher. Treasury cuts quarterly borrowing estimate to $760 billion. So this was, I guess, less than what they were expected to do. And if there's any doubt, like in terms of, if you're confused about macro moves and how bonds affect equities and how the dollar affects equities, you could basically just go through. And bonds, by the way, we're having a good day before this, but here's what TLT did today. Right. So, nice move. We were talking about how this looked starting to look dangerous because we were trading below value. We are still trading below the value area here for TLT. But on this move where we kind of ramped higher, right around this 3 o'clock, last hour of the day, right? So that's what bonds did. Bonds rallied, and that means, of course, yields are coming down, right? Also, take a look at what the dollar did. Right, and here's UUP. Again, not as dramatic of a move, but the dollar went down around the same time. What did equities do? Right, they of course did that. So I mean, those things are going to happen a little bit before, in my opinion. The move in bonds happens a little bit before. But if you're confused about these things, sometimes I get into discussions with traders about how important the bond market is. But yeah, I mean, less borrowing, yields go lower, across across maturities, right? And here's what the bond move is. Yep, bond markets, and then bring this up every day for some reason. But yeah, you could see yields decently down. Let me just blow this up for you to see. All right. But sometimes the market knows this stuff ahead of time. For instance, I was trying to come up with a reason because for a while today, like the Qs weren't really moving, the S&P wasn't really moving. Now IWM was outperforming a little bit, but you look at the ARK, the ARK Innovation Fund, which it's kind of it's kind of for me like a canary in the coal mine for very, very high growth stocks. Many of them don't make any money, but you could kind of see now there was an upgrade on Beam today, but the whole group was very strong today, and this was up. I think it finished up for the day 4.7%, but this group was up well over 2% today before that announcement came out from the Treasury. So it kind of just seemed like something was up. Either people were covered, some funds do cover into all these events that we have this week. And I want to talk about, we'll go through, let me just bring up the right thing here. I apologize. I'm just going to stop the screen for 1 second. Oh, there, the big picture of me. All right, and I want to just bring up Trading View here. And I'll share the screen again. There we go. All right, so we'll go through charts this way, but well, I'll go through the indices really quickly, just so that you can kind of see where we are. Let me take this off the hourly. And and that was another thing, by the way, today too, is all the indices started inside its value area for the week. So it was kind of, to me, when we start the week, and a reminder, the value area that we're looking at here, right, this box is based on all of last week's price and volume activity, right? So that stays static for the week because it's based on last week's all of last week's activity. So when we start the week inside value, right, we're really kind of looking for a signal, like which way are we going to turn, right? And clearly we did resolve higher there. Let me just bring up the daily chart here in Trading View. and shrink this down. But we are continuing to trend. And even last week, if you go back to what we saw on Wednesday, right, where we saw that reversal from the highs, right? One of the things that I had said multiple times last week is that one day does not make a trend, right? And even though you can have a pretty ugly looking candle, as long as the trend is intact, right? And that's why I have the 5-period moving average, especially when we're trading above value like this, right? It's good to know, basically if we're staying above trend lines here, right? So nice move here. I'll just go through the rest of the indices really quick, and then we'll talk about all these single stock movers. But here's the Qs, which again, like they looked a little bit vulnerable here. They were actually starting to kind of break that 5-period moving average, but held in here nicely today. Again, not the performance for the Qs was what, up 1% for the day, but I don't think we took out the highs, right? And then IWM, which has been the wild card, all kinds of whippy price action last week, still inside value for the month of January, but held where it needed to, which was again this 5-period moving average. So something like that, it's why I use the moving averages. It just kind of tells you, you kind of can reinforce your view for you, or give you some confirmation that something's changing, because every day last week the price action, while whippy, stayed above the 5-period moving average, right, for confirmation purposes. I'm also going to just flip this over to the hourly, and you could see that this was more dramatic on that 3 o'clock announcement. IWM it's something that if you are a regular viewer of my videos, you know that I've been talking about how much more sensitive IWM is to bond yields. So that move in TLT really just ignited this to go forward, and IWM finished up 1.75% today. So still has some more work to do. Going back to that daily chart, but that's definitely a move in the right direction. One other thing that I will say too, while we're talking about, I don't want a different symbol. Sometimes this does this. I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to TradingView. I really like TradingView. I just started using it, so I have a little bit of, what do you call it? Muscle memory to get to adapt to. But I'm learning, and I'm getting better at it. So slowly but surely. But clearly, we've got some macro events this week, right? We've got the Fed meeting on Wednesday. Isn't it funny how Janet Yellen likes to steal Powell's thunder? It seems like this happens quite a bit. Remember, like this was, I think, going back about 6 months ago, where Janet Yellen came on and spoke the same time that Powell spoke. So it's just kind of funny to me that this Treasury statement, right, because Janet Yellen is the Treasury Secretary, comes out and like charges up the market. Even though she has nothing to do with the Fed, she's moving the market sometimes more than Powell does. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But what I was going to say is, obviously we've got the Fed meeting on Wednesday and the press conference thereafter. We also have a jobs report tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Friday. All right, and some people are saying, and I tend to kind of agree with this at this point, that the big earnings reports, right, that we're going to get two big earnings reports tomorrow after the close. But I mean, we're getting a lot of earnings reports now, and I'm going to go over them in just a second. But we're of the big companies, right? So let's just bring in NDX here, right? So this is the Qs. So tomorrow after the close, we're going to get AMD, Microsoft, and Google, right? And there'll be other reports too, but these guys can really drive the market, right? And then Thursday after the close, you get Amazon, Meta, and you get Apple. We skip a day, right? The 31st, we don't get that much after the close, but Tuesday and Thursday are the big days. Now, what's not in, are any of these names in IWM? No, right? Because IWM is a small cap ETF. So it will be interesting to see how IWM does, given that all those heavy hitters are not in. Could it be that IWM begins to outperform? It's possible, right? And it will also hinge on what Powell says in his press conference. If he hints that there's a possibility that they might cut rates in March, IWM should really like that, right? And here's what the expectations are. They keep dropping. So I looked at this, right? So you can go back. Well, I can do this for you right now, but look at what this showed back on the first of the month of January. There is a 81% chance that Fed fund futures were pricing in an interest rate cut for March. Look how the expectations have come in. All right, so let's go to today. So that's 81%, and it's only right now a third. It's about a 40% chance that they cut interest rates in March, right? So the expectations have come in, right, which is a good, in my opinion, which is a good thing, right? The more that the market is not expecting it, right, the more that if Powell comes out and says, "Hey, we're not going to do anything in March," right, the market can absorb that a bit because the expectations are no longer there. Right. So again, there's still 40% chance. We're not at 20, we're not at zero. But it will be interesting what he says now, and it might be impactful if he is dovish. If he's hawkish, right, or if he says that we need more data, there might be a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to that. But I don't think I think the market could come to grips with that. And personally, that's what I would say. You're going to get two more rounds of the CPI report before March 20th. Wouldn't you want to wait logically to get that information first before you make a decision? Just something to think about. But I'll move on because there's a lot to talk about today. Here was our watch list. So every weekend, I put out a watch list. I put this also out on Substack for paying members, and I go through each one of these charts. Right, we have a charts channel that I'll go ahead and put trade ideas and charts in here, especially as we go along for the day. So there's commentary for each one of these setups, but this is, and each one has a trigger, right, which is based on volume at price and the market webs indicator. But you could see there's a lot of good setups. Now Zim got an upgrade this morning, so it gapped up, so that's kind of tough when that happens. But I'll tell you what was impressive today was the software group. One of the ones where's Adobe actually cooled off a little bit, but Adobe was really hot out of the gate. Snowflake was strong. Monday, which I took off the watch list and I substituted with a couple other names, actually did very, very well. Datadog, we can go through some of these charts, but pretty impressive. Some of these names started to move. Like for example, Datadog had a nice bullish engulfing on Friday. CrowdStrike, even though it had a bearish engulfing candle on Thursday, came back. It seems like you just can't keep this name down too much. VRNS, which is another cyber software / name. I think this name is setting up possibly for tomorrow. ESTC, which is another one that's been super strong, right? Came in, tested the top of value. Right, so lots of strength here. Sentinel-1 had another big day that closed back above its value area for the month. But there was other areas that were strong today. This was a name that we started to watch last week, which was Alta. I know Elf has been the one that's been super strong, but finally broke this range, right? This is the range after it reported earnings, and it came out and took this virgin point of control. So you know where to take profits when you have one of these virgin point of controls, because they can kind of signal. And again, you don't have to take the whole trade off per se, right? But it's a good indication of where there's overhead supply, right? Using volume at price, right? So very impressive there. Also on our watch list, and it's kind of funny because the way that we left last week, energy was super strong last week, and some of these names still did pretty good today. PBF, which is a refiner, Valero, had good gains today. PSX, which is tough because this name is going to report earnings on the 31st, I believe. Just looking at this chart here, had an inside day today, right? So a little bit better, right, to kind of go after that name. And we talked about Uber as well, which had an inside day as well on Friday, right? And look at extend higher. Right, so this is a name that we put on last week. All right, so let's talk about a couple names. This SMCI, unbelievable. The numbers that they churned out here. Stock went all the way up to 550. I've been holding a position in this thing. I took off a little bit more today. Right around the open today at 489. Given on the gap day, I chased this thing up a little bit. 403. Look at it now. It's up 49 and it printed up at 550 in the after hours. Now it's sitting here at 530. But this is a name that we've been all over now for a while. It's been in the TTG trend portfolio for a good while. I think for a couple of years we've had it on the TTG trend portfolio. So very, very strong. And look at the pin action that this is giving to some of these names. Nvidia is at an all-time high in the after hours, right? That name kind of came alive in the afternoon. And then VRT, which is a name I added today. Right. So it just, again, it triggered, was a name that I was watching. I had an alert on it, putting in a bull flag. And you're starting to see a lot of these where you're seeing a little bit of consolidation and a move higher. So I put that one on this afternoon. And I took some profits here. I took a small target. It's a tough name it's not very liquid after hours, but nice to see this thing extend and move higher. One other name too that was a member brought this name to my attention. I think I looked at this chart once last week. This is Ice Baby. Sorry. I like the consolidation here. Notice that this thing has made a nice move and has been consolidating. Right. And if you look at the 1 hour chart, which again is, if you're a shorter term trader, you can find some nice signals off the 1 hour chart. So what's appealing about this 1 hour chart? Well, look at the tight value area. Usually when you have a value area this tight, this narrow, usually a decent move is coming. It's the equivalent of when people like to say coiling in the moving averages, when three of them are wrapped around one another, right? So it's a very similar principle. Usually a big move happens once price starts to get away from that coiling. Same thing with the slim value area. You could see a big move there. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. But one heck of a day to start the week. If you're worried about some of those events for this week, what a great day to kind of lighten up before any of those reports if you're really concerned about them. So sometimes the market gives you a free pass. Today kind of felt like that if you wanted it to be. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.